working group meeting, which is part of TAG Contributor Strategy. Just be mindful that this meeting falls under the CNCF Code of Conduct, which means we should be excellent to each other and be our very best in this meeting. Keep in mind that the meeting is being recorded and will be published on YouTube later. All right. We have a lot of faces that I do not recognize, so it's really nice to have more people. So let's do a quick round of introductions. I will kick off and then we do popcorn around the house. I'll pass it on to the next person and just keep going like that so everybody can learn the names and the whereabouts of the other people. I'm Rian Kleinhans. I work with II from New Zealand doing Kubernetes conformance work, and I am the co-tech lead for TAG Contributor Strategy and the facilitator for this meeting. And I will pass it on to Jay.
Kia ora koutou, ko Jay Tihimu tōku ingoa. My name's Jay. I'm from II New Zealand. I'm a community manager and also co-chair of the mentoring working group as well. Good to see you all. Pass it on to Nate.
Hello, everyone. I'm Nate Waddington. I am a developer advocate here with the CNCF, and in that role, I've got a couple of roles. One being as a tech writer, I help projects organize and write their documentation, and the other part of my role is I help run the mentorship programs across the CNCF with a lot of the folks here on this call. I can't take that. I can't make the sole claim to that. Jay and Rian, and Josh and Diane all help out just a ton. So I think I will throw to Diane. Hello, Diane. How are you doing?
You're muted.
I had to find the right button to push. Hi, I'm Diane Mueller. I'm the director of research and advisory services for Bitergia. And I'm working with Nate and other folks in the community growth and on the mentoring working group. I will pass it on to Josh.
Howdy, I'm Josh Burkus. I'm co-chair of TAG Contributor Strategy and work on several cloud native projects. And I will pass it on to Ivy or Evie. If you tell me how to pronounce your name, that would be great.
Hi, it's Ivy.
Okay, thanks.
So my name is Ivy. I'm sorry, I dropped and then I joined. So I really didn't get the question that I'm supposed to answer.
We're just introducing ourselves.
Oh, okay. So my name is Ivy. I'm from Kenya, and I have joined the Zero to Merge program for the next 4 weeks. And I am excited to contribute to this community. I want to pass it on to Nate.
I think Nate have gone, so let's pass it on to Diva.
Thanks. Good catch, Ben.
Yeah, it's Divya. Thank you for passing it on. And I'm sorry if my voice doesn't sound really great. I'm currently having a very bad bout of cold. So this is my first meeting, and with TAG Contributor Strategy, this particular group. And yeah, I've been meaning to get involved for a long time, and I think I finally took the plunge today. So elsewhere in the ecosystem, I work in the Kubernetes project, and I'm also a CNCF ambassador. And I am working at my day job as a senior technical evangelist at SUSE. So I think that's it for me. I'm not sure if I'm going to get the name right. Hubbard, if I'm Hubbard Smith. Yes. Did I get the pronunciation right?
You did. Thank you so much. I'm Hubbard Smith. I have a long career in tech. I'm sort of new to CNCF, but I'm not new to standards or community work. I'm a founder of a company called i4Ops. I live in Salt Lake City. It's great to be here. I hope I can contribute. Who's missing? Dawn, have you been introduced yet?
I have not. Thank you.
Sure.
I'm Dawn Foster. I'm co-chair of Tech Contributor Strategy. I do a lot of work within the governance working group in particular, and I'm also director of data science at the Chaos Project. How about if I pass it on to Noah?
Hi, everyone. I'm Noah Abrahams. I am a TPM at Oracle and living in Las Vegas. And I am the person who will continually beat on the drum that says non-code contributions. That's my whole shtick, and I will bring it up every chance I get. So you can certainly mute that word and you'll stop hearing me. I will pass it on to Callum and Leo.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for passing it to us. I'm Callum. I'm Leo. We're both currently interns at Red Hat, working on Knative mostly. And we've been working on a project to get designers, mostly like UI UX designers, more involved in Knative contributions. And so we figured we could share a bit of that work as it progresses here, sort of on the non-code contribution front.
Well, I think we will pass to Anushka.
Hey, hi everyone. I am Anushka Saxena and I'm from India. I am a student and I'm pursuing my technology degree in information technology. My major is information technology, and I'm new to CNCF. I have been working on a few non-code issues, and I hope to increase my code contributions in a few upcoming weeks. And so, yeah, really nice to meet you all.
Nice to see you too.
And am I supposed to pass it on?
I think Aniket is the last one, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay. So over to you, Aniket.
Hey guys, I am Aniket and I am from India. And I do not have much of experience like you folks, but like I am the beginner in CNCF and I am looking forward to start contributing in the best ways that I can.
You have come to the right place. We have lots of work that people can get involved with. Thanks everybody for the introductions. I think we've got everybody, so I think we can kick off the meeting. So I've added a few things to the agenda to open up the discussions. Yesterday still, I believe everybody would, because I see Aniket is on the, so everybody's name is on the list. So I guess everybody got the agenda link, which was in the chat. So the first point on the agenda is the roadmaps document. Thanks for all the help with that and the reviews that we finally got that merged yesterday. And it is now live on the website. So you can point people in projects to our roadmaps on our help on the contribute.cncf.io. And then we wrote a blog post that is linked to that issue. And there was a comment about where we should, because I did ask who should be informed, and we did get a comment. It's just gone now. I'll go look for it later. So we'll send that on to CNCF to publish the blog for us. Any comments or questions about that? All right, then let's roll on to the next point. There is a PR out. Members from the contributor strategy asked that we rewrite our README. So if we can just review that and change and merge whenever possible. You don't have to do it on the meeting today. And then there was from a discussion point. So the key reason for this working group is to improve contribution across the CNCF and get more contributors. So we start by doing that ourselves and get more contributors. I'm very excited to see the amount of people that actually joined that want to contribute. And so one of the things that I did this week, I went to the Deaf and Hard of Hearing initiative, which is a very new initiative in this community. and asked there is a lot of people that also want to contribute and get involved. So we invited them. So they're more than welcome to join us. Put out a link to our Help Wanted board, I think, in the agenda. So yeah, ask for contributors to join from there. And then I bumped into Ivy and Anishka in another issue where they volunteered some help. Happy to see you accepted our invitation and joined here. And then onboarding of people. So basically, if you haven't been to open source meetings before, everybody says make that first PR, and that gets you in, to become a part of the community. So I would encourage you to see what work fits within your scope and knowledge and make that first PR. We would love to have that. And then I was thinking we need to, so something else that I was thinking about that we should do around onboarding mentorship to get more people over that first PR, get them involved. I was thinking something about getting a video out or an article out about just for that first step. There is an article that we published about getting involved in open source. And I'm having a very long monologue here. Any thoughts on the strategies here?
When you say video, do you mean an instructional video?
I was thinking maybe if we have somebody with your fantastic public speaking history, Jay, you've just been nominated. Maybe walk through something like the start contributing and turn that into a video introduction, say, and explain. And I think kind of like we went through in the beginning, this is how you make a PR. This is what GitHub is, especially to people that really want to get involved and doesn't know the first thing. Help them get onboarded, and people that is fully aware about GitHub, how it works, how GitHub accounts work, all the basic things that you need. Clearly, it wouldn't be for them at that level, but we can decide how deep we dive into it. So I was thinking about it. We have two hands. Let's go first with I can't get the pronunciation. Divya.
Yes, it's Diva with a Y in between. So yeah. So regarding that, I don't have too many thoughts. I echo your sentiments regarding having that, but I also feel like a lot of people that we attract as CNCF and the projects that we house are students and people who typically have no knowledge of GitHub as well. So having like documentation or content that would be very maybe hyperlinked or referencing the basics of what we need in order to get started with actual contributions to CNCF, whether it's non-code, whether it's documentation. You need some basics of GitHub pat down. So that would help. However we're doing it, whether it's video, whether it's talks, whether everything else, I don't know, but having those basics reference somewhere would be really helpful. We do that in the Kubernetes side of things, and uh, not trying to beat my own drum here, but it's there. But again, it's a very comprehensive documentation, and having a simpler version of that documentation would probably help. Is what I was trying to get at. I don't know if it makes sense though.
Yes, of course it makes sense. Thank you. Is the document ready? Have you already written it?
Yeah, actually it's there in the Kubernetes. So it's a Kubernetes contributor guide. So we already have that.
Awesome.
Yeah, so
can you post a link and
yeah, I'm just doing that.
I'm a big believer in peer review. I'll read it and provide some feedback.
Yeah, so this is an entire thing. There's just contributing to docs really, but there's a lot of material in here that's also mostly working alongside, how to get started with your first pull request and stuff like that. So maybe we could adapt that content in whatever format we want to. And of course, whatever stuff that, was said before, we could sort of mishmash it together to get it out structurally
Right.
appropriate.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for writing this down, and I'll read it with interest, and hopefully we can help others with it. So that's the idea. I honestly think there's a gap between the technology of CNCF, which is lovely, and the users of CNCF-based technologies. And I think that documentation and how-to and getting started and all of those example programs are the way to bridge that gap. And that's one of the reasons why I'm here. So I'll shut up now.
Thanks for that, and thanks for the document. I posted your document link in the agenda, so if people want to read through that. And then I also posted the link to a document that we have within the CNCF about how to get started in open source. And what might be a good first issue for you on this side is take what you have in your document and integrate it back into our document. And maybe there's something in our document that help on your side, and maybe even cross-link the two together through a PR. So the more resources, the better. So thank you very much. Appreciate. And then I've got a raised hand there from Colin and Leo.
Yeah, I think we were just sharing something similar that we've been working on in Knative. I added the link into the document. Yeah, the document that we have going here. But we've got a bit of a kind of getting started for new contributors blog series happening in Knative right now. A lot of people have been on PTO, so it's going a bit more slowly than we initially expected, but it's coming along. And the first bit about just sort of general contributions is done so far, and we're now working on some of the more technical aspects of the coding contributions. But yeah, I linked the first post there, which is just kind of our generic intro to open source and contributing, in case that's at all helpful. And we'd be happy to try and contribute any of that to other places as appropriate.
Oh, this is very nice. Thank you. And again, as I said about getting Kubernetes document in, you're also welcome to look at the CNCF document, which is specifically related to this project. Take whatever is helpful there, replicate it on your side, and again, go and make a link, find an appropriate way to attach it to our, so we build this network of information, make a PR to add a paragraph and say projects also do things like this, go to Knative, and hopefully in that way attract more contributors to your project, and then again link back to our document. So it's Kubernetes, Knative, everybody feeding each other with knowledge and resources. Thank you very much. This is an exciting meeting. All right, what is next? A new issue. There's a new issue that. Any other comments on the specific topic about getting more contributors? This has really been helpful. Any other thoughts? All right, then I'll roll over. I think that the
sorry,
new
I've got
issue
one.
that was added.
I've got an easy one. Sorry to interrupt. I was a little late. You mentioned PRs, so that implies that there's a Git repository someplace where the PRs are logged. Can you point us at that?
Yes. So what I'm going to do is I will share a link to our project board in the agenda in a minute. Sorry, I'm not sharing my screen. I'm having a bit of internet issues.
It's all
I'm going
good.
to share my screen. You're not going to either not going to see or hear me.
Yeah, I can see your document. That's good enough.
Okay, so I will, if somebody maybe, if you've got a hand, if you can just drop a link in there to our project board from our repository. So let's talk about that then before I roll over to the next one. So if you open the issue that is next on the agenda, you will actually see, let me walk you through how our things work. So if you're in the issue, you'll see on the right-hand side, you've got your labels on, but also very important, you'll see under project, you've got the tag contributor strategy project board. If you click on that and open that, that is for any new contributor, this is where you go. If you specifically want to contribute to tag contributor strategy. Sorry, my board is loading very slowly. Internet. Okay, so you'll notice that the board is divided in several views. So the overview tab is the first one that it opens up on, which is basically all issues. Then within tag contributor strategy, if you go to our repo from that issue, you can just click on it and take you to the repo. You will see there is several initiatives within tag contributor strategy. Governance being one, mentoring being one, this working group. So you can look through the top level README to find out what is all the different initiatives that we're involved with. And then the project board is for all those initiatives. You would note that there is a tab for governance. There's a tab for help wanted, which I'll get back to just now, then contributor growth and all the different initiatives, which reminds me, I haven't made one for death of a hard of hearing yet. I'll have to add a view for that. So if you go to help wanted, that is ideally the place where you get involved. So how some of our people that visit us today or started joining us today got to this meeting is they selected a help wanted issue in our repo, volunteered to work on that, which unfortunately is you need a little bit of background knowledge for that. So I advise that they look at this tab. So in the help wanted, there's a lot of issues. So what you do is look through the issues, find an issue that you want to work on, reach out to with a comment, you'll get feedback, ask questions, you want to know more about what that specifically. And Noah, this is a lot of non-code. So if you have non-code people that's looking for something to do, this is the place to be, the help wanted tab.
I wonder if we should break some of that up into, so I tagged something with help wanted because I tend to think of help wanted as something that people with experience can work on, as opposed to good first issue, which is something that somebody who's brand new to the project can work on. And I feel like as a tag, we haven't really distinguished between the two, because I tagged something help wanted thinking like you or Ollie or somebody would pick it up. And some other people tried to pick it up as a good first issue, and it wasn't a good first issue. And I maybe should have been clear about that. But I'm curious, should we distinguish between the two, or how do we want to handle that as a tag? Ooh, Josh has an opinion.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think I've tagged anything as good first issue, because even in cases where the particular work could be done by somebody new to the tag, I haven't done enough prep on the issue that somebody new could figure out what needed to be done. I mean, that's the real difference with a good first issue, is that you have to include a lot more information with it so that somebody can get started on it on their own. And I just have not done the work for that. So if we were dealing with that as a tag, the answer would be for us as tag leads to take a quick glance through the help wanted issues, see if any of them are decent candidates for good first issues, and then add the information that they need for somebody to actually pick them up.
Divya?
Yeah, I actually wanted to say the same thing as Josh. What we practically do at Kubernetes is the same thing. If it's a good first issue, we technically, we provide significantly more deep amount of, information. Like it's like a huge chunk of information that the contributor can just look at, and you specifically point out which page, what link, what specific line in a file needs amendment, as opposed to, in a help wanted issue, you actually just tell them that there's this, you make it a little more, it's not intentionally making it a little more vague, but it's like a little more experienced sort of a person can sort of take it up without a lot of hand holding. But good first issues technically tend to fall under the remit of, you need to provide more information, and you need to like really pinpoint what exactly needs changing in the document, or what exactly needs creation if we're starting from scratch. So +1 to whatever. But again, I think it's essential that we bifurcate them because otherwise people tend to take on the help wanted issues and then struggle with it. This is what I've noticed in the documentation side of things with Kubernetes, which is like the only place I have experience in. So pardon me if I'm referencing it back too much, but that's what technically happens. Like people want to contribute and they're like, oh, they've flagged it as help wanted, so maybe we should just go and check it out. But unfortunately, they get stuck, and that sort of leads to them being demotivated earlier on in the cycle, as opposed to maybe after a few PRs. But yeah, I think it's valuable to bifurcate the two.
Any other thoughts? So yes, I think that throws it back in the court of the tag to go through the issues and find issues where help wanted should also be a good first issue and add more detail. What I could suggest that people that want to contribute have a look through the help wanted issues in the meantime, where it's purely documentation, a write-up about something that does not require very specific background knowledge, like the roadmap PR that we just merged. It didn't refer to anything internally. It was general research about roadmaps in general. So there might be a few of those if you want to specifically do a document about some technology or some part of the work that we do. So have a look through there, and we will then endeavor to clarify the help wanted into good first issues. All right, if there's no further comment, when Josh, your hand's up, is it still up or you want? All right.
No. Zoom just doesn't lower my hand after I speak. Yeah.
Thanks. Okay, then I'm going to point to the new issue that I saw coming in this week. I moved it to backlog as create a template for variant of spec projects. Josh, you want to speak to that topic? It is under contributor growth tagged.
The spec projects.
It's in the agenda. Sorry, I picked up your.
Where are we
week.
in the agenda? Create template variant for spec projects. Oh, right. Yeah, that would require specific experience, but if anybody has it, basically somebody just pointed out the CNCF has a handful of projects that are basically specifications rather than primarily applications. An example of that would be cloud events. And specification projects need slightly different governance and contribution guidelines than application projects do. For example, for most specification projects, there is some sort of more involved approval process for the human readable version of the spec, for example. And the contribution process often generally starts with documents rather than with code. So if anybody works on a spec project and they're willing to take a stab at making a variant. So the variant is for all the files that are in project template, and not necessarily all the files, but probably the governance examples, contributing.md would be the two that I would think of that would need to get changed. Based on maybe what our specification projects already have, if any of them are well documented. So that's that basic task. It's not urgent because we do only have a handful of specification projects, but it would be a good thing for us to have. Thanks for that, Josh. Yeah, it's clearly somebody with some
historical background about this. It's not just a help wanted or not a good first issue, but thanks for pointing that out. Yeah, I saw you moved it into backlog, so I thought let me stick it on the agenda.
Yeah, well, as long as I've got it
Then-
open, I can actually put what I just said into the issue, which I'll do, which makes it
Oh
easier for
yes,
somebody to pick up.
that would be great. Then I roll over to the next issue, which I think would be a good first issue in general, and maybe even for some teamwork here. This issue has been open since 2021, and Divya would like to volunteer, and Noah is the chief advocate and evangelist for non-code contributions, and he knows everything about it. So shall we make a committee of writing this document and start? There's a lot of exciting information for this.
Let me give a little bit of background, because this is an initiative that has tried to get off the ground several times over the past year or so. And especially trying to get something off the ground during the pandemic was very difficult to just get enough people motivated to get critical mass. Because we have a lot of new folks here, I'll give a little bit of background. There was an original project done under Kubernetes that was a non-code contributors guide. And ideally, it should be linked from the contributors guide that Divya posted, but it didn't actually make its way into the links there for whatever reason. The old version of that was enumeration. It was a first step. It was, here's a list of all the possible places that people could contribute where it is non-code based, with some identification that not all non-code roles are, as we mentioned earlier, appropriate for beginners. Some of them are non-code and you can jump right in, and some of them require understanding of the project. They're sort of a post-code role. And there's a lot of different ways to approach a role that is not code in and of itself. There was an initiative about 2 years ago to try and expand that. Now, the original one was written in 2018, I think. I know because I wrote it. And that initiative was to bring that idea into the CNCF from just Kubernetes so that all the projects could take advantage of understanding what a non-code role looks like and how people can become contributors. There was also an idea that we were going to take it within Kubernetes, make it more specific and try and add a lot more things so that people could find, oh, here's how you find a task, here's how you find things in GitHub, et cetera, et cetera. Now, both of those have sort of merged together into what this particular issue has evolved, which is to become an advisory document for CNCF projects as a whole and how they handle non-code roles and really how you can get more non-code contributors involved and how you treat their ability to take those tasks and take that work upon themselves. So it's where we are now. We have tried to get some meetings going and real life gets in the way and people keep falling off and saying, yes, we're going to have that meeting. And then we never have the meeting. So we've got a lot of new faces here and we've got a lot of folks that are eager. I'm going to try again to try and spin up a meeting so that we can get people together to talk about what it looks like to actually approach a document like this. And I guess we'll put together like a doodle poll and see when a good time is for people to jump in and potentially meet. That brings us to what the agenda of that meeting would be, which I guess we would figure out in the first meeting. Any questions? That was a bit of an info dump.
I have a question.
Yes.
So you mentioned that a part of this is already there in the Kubernetes project and stuff like that. So would the scope of this activity just be the advisory? I mean, I know it's titled the advisory thing. We're not like having sort of role handbooks doled out, right? It's just going to
Mhm.
be like advisory guidance for projects on the on the non-code roles that could potentially exist within the project, and not go down to the specifics of how they should do it, right? I mean, that is not within the remit. Yes, I just wanted to get that clear. Yeah.
Yes, my expectation is that from the advisory document that we would put together as part of this issue, we would be able to have the bullet points that we would need to jump into the other part of the project that I was mentioning to say, okay, this is what we should be doing. We have already established what we should be doing. Now let's go do it. And that's a separate endeavor that is not related
Yeah,
to this endeavor.
yeah. Gotcha. Thank you.
Callum and Leo.
Yeah, we linked it in the document, but we've been working with a group of designers out of the university here in Toronto to basically try and figure out how designers can collaborate with Knative. So I guess it's like approaching it from not the advisory side, but from like, how are we actually going to make this happen in a specific community? But I know the designers were mentioning they'd be super happy to try and like help contribute this back up once we figure out a bit more about how this is going to work. So that I can put them in touch with you, I guess, about if this is going forwards and how to contribute to that document and these meetings maybe. And then the other thing that came out of this, which I think is more of like a CNCF level thing rather than a project specific level thing, is at least for designers, it's like as soon as they kind of learned more about what open source was and the opportunities in it, a lot of them were seeing like, oh, this is really cool and we'd like to participate, but we never hear about this. Like, it's just not even something we know about. And so they were asking if there's a way that we can let them know that there are like opportunities for like volunteering with open source and what designers can do in some of our communities, since they just don't even like know about it. Like unlike a lot of us who are kind of on like at least somewhat close to the engineering side or like using GitHub, like a lot of designers don't even know about GitHub or that CNCF exists, but once they know about it, they're interested.
I think a bit of that ties back into the specificity that I was talking about, that is the end result to come back around, because once you have identified roles and tasks, then you can publicize them. But until the roles or tasks are identified, saying you can contribute, how? Well, get involved. Like, that's not really a specific enough thing to get people in the door to be able to contribute in the first place. So it's very cyclical in how do we identify the tasks so we can get people involved to then turn around and identify more tasks. And that is part of why I think this advisory document is going to be really important, is we're going to be able to say, this is how you should be identifying tasks, not what is this process or how do I want to phrase this? What does the process of identification look like? Not these are the specifics of where you should post particular tasks, whether you should put it on message boards, Twitter, Slack, whatever. Does that make sense? Am I rambling?
Yeah, that makes sense. I just wanted to highlight that we'll probably need to do some form of outreach as well, even if
I love it.
Generic CNCF level.
I love it. Outreach is non-code.
Noah, I think we've reached critical mass. Time to roll.
Woohoo!
And let's talk about the next steps. Will you take charge of that issue as the point of jumping off and starting the doodle poll? Invite people to the meeting. So everybody that's in the call that's interested, stick your name in there and CC yourself on that issue, so you would actually be notified when Noah does the magic, and we can go to that meeting. And the way we've in the stack, how we've developed documents, we create a centralized document like a Google Doc or a HackMD. Google Docs work fairly good because you can do commenting and reviews in it. And then build it together there. Then everybody can jump in and build together on the document. So yeah, I think we've got lots of hands on deck for this.
I'm so excited. Any other questions or
Alright.
comments?
That is the end of the agenda. So yes, questions or comments or any other contributions around this? Oh, I